Oh, hoorah! Chuck! Chuck, I'm here to be your sidekick. Where are you, Chuck? Chuck! Chuck, no time for a code of silence, Chuck. Come on now. Don't be a lone wolf, Chuck. Chuck! Come on, Chuck. It's Invasion USA, brother. Chuck! Chuck, come on now. Delta Force sent me in to be your sidekick, Chuck. Where are you? Chuck! 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 Come on, you lone wolf. Oh, there you are. What's that, Chuck? Sure, I'll walk to you. I'm your sidekick, Chuck. Chuck, I'm your sidekick, Chuck. Chuck. Was I doing that thing where I was having fantasy dreams with Chuck Norris again? Cool. You remember back in the 90s when every 6 weeks a new ripoff of The Karate Kid came out? Some variation of a kid or kids team full of underdogs make their families proud in the end type film? Chuck Norris remembers. So does Mattress Mac, which, if you've ever been to Houston, you know his name, you know his terrible commercials. He was the mattress king of the city, still is. He met Chuck at an anti-drug deal, and the two became buddies, and when Chuck was in a little bit of trouble funding his next project, well, Mattress Mac ended up putting up not only $9 million of his own coin to fully fund the flick, but another $7 million to fund the grassroots marketing campaign, which I'll get to a little bit more in another video. So we open up with a typical Chuck Norris martial arts action scene from a Cannon film kind of thing. But some of the fighting in this opening sequence is, it's a little over the top, it's a little fantastical, it's not exactly traditional martial arts or traditional Chuck, it's sort of like a stunt double doing gymnastics, if you know what I mean. Now, if you want to see Chuck in his prime, you gotta watch Enter the Dragon. It's Bruce Lee versus Chuck, all inside the Roman Colosseum. But here we got Chuck doing all sorts of jumps and spins. He's nunchucking in and out and doing some roundhouse kicks as a chaser, but he needs help, a sidekick, hence the title. When you couldn't afford Leo, you could afford Jonathan Brandis. May he rest in peace. So yeah, this opening, it's the greatest scene from a Cannon film never made by Cannon. By the way, you know, Cannon really did live and die with Chuck. He gave them great successes in the 80s, but their last film, well, it was Hellbound, and their last television production was the start of Walker, Texas Ranger, before they had to hand it off to CBS completely. But yeah, this is not a Cannon film, it's just a fantasy that our lead character Barry is having in the middle of high school. Yeah, Barry's in high school. High school, okay, having these delusional fantasies. Now listen, I'm not here to condone bullying, but what a loser, am I right? Barry's like moaning Chuck's name and sleep during history class. I don't know what's going on. But Winnie Cooper, teenage goddess of the 90s, defends him through and through. Oh, by the way, we also have his teacher, which is Walmart brand, Tia Carrere. So yeah, Barry's played by Jonathan Brandis, and his dad is played by Beau Bridges because his brother Jeff was, you know, too busy having an actual film career. Speaking of Brandis, anything about him, Brad Renfro, River Phoenix, so many dead too soon, and yet notorious douchebag Tommy Maguire is still alive. Life isn't fair. Now, Beau ends up taking his son because he knows he's been bullied, so he takes him to a karate facility. Like I said, this is a copy of The Karate Kid, so of course, here we have Copy Kai, led by our douchebag leader, Joe Piscopo, most remembered for, I guess, being on SNL, of course, and being name-checked in a Tom Petty / Bob Dylan tune, and he is a scumbag, and he makes fun of Chuck Norris right to Barry's face. There's gonna be tears. And then it's straight back to Fantasyland. This time we got Chuck Norris. He's in some sort of faux missing in action. And of course in this fantasy, Piscopo's our villain, and he's going full SNL over the top villain here. In Walmart Tia Carrere, she's sent for our Mr. Miyagi stand-in. He's played by Mako, which is interesting because while in this film he'll be Barry's mentor, he was Chuck's mentor back in the early 80s in Eye for an Eye. And then we're in a Chinese restaurant where Beau and Walmart Tia Carrere, they're eating dinner over an appetizer of sexual tension. And in the kitchen, Mr. Foyagi, he's given Barry his new nickname, Mr. Dumpling. He also lets him know that he's gonna have to walk to school from now on. Screw the asthma, it doesn't matter. Mr. Foyagi walked 9 miles in the snow back in the day, so, you know, Jonathan Brandis can handle it. But back in the dining area, we got a motorcycle gang of white, racist douchebags, one of which is played by Chuck's son, And since it's also directed by Aaron Norris, you could really call this film a family affair. Now, why would these racist douchebags go into a Chinese restaurant in the first place? I don't know, but they're there causing trouble. Mr. Foyagi, he comes out in this sort of Three Stooges meets Jackie Chan type way. They're taking some plates to the face and some hot coffee to the crotch as a chaser. Back in high school now, Barry, he gets beat up by Copy Kai students. They're like, Winnie Cooper doesn't like you. They're just taunting him. She pities you. And by the way, she proves him right in a little bit. But first, it's time for an episode of Western Texas Ranger as Barry fantasizes about being in the Old West with Chuck, who's called Lone Wolf here, a reference, of course, to one of his best films, Lone Wolf McQuade. Then Barry orders a glass of milk at the bar. Apparently, he's a dweeb in real life and in his fantasies. Too bad he doesn't order it as milk chocolate. But a bad guy, he's trying to order a different kind of milk from one of the saloon dames, and Barry goes full gravely Clint Eastwood to defend her honor. Barry goes Slap City and also Slapstick City. And then he wakes up and we get to meet our douchebag gym teacher. I mean, pretty much all the teachers at the school, they basically suck except for Walmart brand Tia Carrere. But anyhow, he's forcing Barry up the gym rope to humiliate him, and of course, he fantasizes that Chuck is right there on the rope next to him. I can't, says Barry. I hate I can't, retorts Chuck. And here's the real question. When Barry finally loses his virginity to Winnie Cooper at age 41, is he going to be fantasizing that Chuck is there, coaxing him and talking him all the way through it? And actually, we don't have to worry about that because now Winnie turns Barry down, proving the Copy Kai correct. She's sending him into an asthma-fueled fantasy where some Nazis are torturing Barry and Chuck simultaneously. They try to pep rally each other up as the Nazis tighten the torture devices further. And you can cut the homoerotic tension with an ambulance because Barry's having a freaking asthma attack. And with that, it's 80s montage time, complete with Barry going full power team, breaking boards. You remember them, doing steroids and breaking bricks for Jesus. They were great. And then we're back at the Frying Dragon, the restaurant. Mr. Foyagi gives Barry some placebo drink. Drink this 4 times a day for your breathing, he says. Cut to Barry pouring like the entire thing into his cup the next morning. And then we get another montage as Barry hits himself in the head all over the city with some nunchucks. They're not going to leave an inch of Houston unfilmed, and it's given Barry's dad all sorts of time to perv on Walmart Tia Carrere in her 90s yoga pants. You can cut the sexual tension with the nunchucks Barry's probably hitting himself in the head with. And now we got Winnie Cooper dressed as a cheerleader. No wonder I watched this so much as a kid. And they got something to cheer because Barry's picking a fight with the head bully from Copy Kai. He's fully inspired by Mr. Foyagi's placebos. It ends in a draw of sorts, but he does earn the respect of many people, including the jerk gym teacher. And Mr. Dumpling, more like Mr. Drop Them Panties, because Winnie Cooper suddenly asks if she can hold Barry's balls, and by that I mean he had a bag of soccer balls that she's asking that, hey, can I help out with you, you know. Nice guys, take a side note here. All it takes is a little physical violence to get that pretty girl to notice you. And it's time for another fantasy. Barry and Chuck, they're rocking dual slicked back 90s mullets. Van Damme would be pleased. We're in some sort of evil pinata factory and our mullet marauders are shotgunning some fantasy bad guys with Barry rocking a grenade launcher as a chaser. Cue the cotton candy fireworks. Chuck was thinking that they were going to be rescuing a babe for him, but this is Barry's fantasy after all, so now he rescues a short-skirted Winnie Cooper. He goes in for his hero's kiss, and the fantasy ends before Barry self-asphyxiates on a pull-up bar. And Barry gets challenged to an actual tournament fight by the Copy Kai, and you know we're heading towards our last act showdown. Cue montage number 4, with the same music. And we're at the tourney, and now Walmart brand Tia Carrere wants Chuck to join their 4-person karate team. So lucky for her, Chuck was just mocked by Copy Kai for not competing. Don't piss off Chuck Norris, Joe Piscopo. And so they named their team after the Frying Dragon because that's free advertisement. And you can't put a price on that. Just ask Mattress Mac, who produced this film, or ask the porn company that tried to sponsor the Saints Stadium recently. Anyhow, B version of Tia Carrere, she's kicking butt in the female competition, but unfortunately for her, Copy Kai has a carrot up its sleeve. Who takes first? Then it's time to break bread with bricks. Mr. Foyagi, he's going full power team. He even asks for an extra brick. But he's obviously a Pink Floyd fan because it's just another brick in the wall for his restaurant-strengthened hands. And then Brandis has his nunchuck exhibition where his fantasy turns him into an Asian. Because that's the easiest way to get around the fact that Jonathan Brandis is not Michelangelo with nunchucks. You know what's going to come down to? The fight's going to come down to Chuck and Joe Piscopo, and he's going full cheap shot. Before he goes around to the crowd like Travis Bickle. You talking to me? You talking to me? I'm Joe Piscopo. I was on SNL. So anyhow, Chuck Norris then decides to beat the ever-loving crap at a Copycat, and I mean, they don't even make it close. Piscopo hulks up, he's stripping off his shirt, business is about to pick up. By that I mean Chuck's about to kick up, sending Piscopo into a flashback dream to SNL with Eddie Murphy. This means we're gonna have to go to a tiebreaker, and you know what that means? Barry versus the head D-bag of Copycat. It's time for more power team action. It's breaking bricks to break the tie. Then we gotta do more breaking bricks to break the tie that the first brick breaking didn't break. Say that 5 times fast. Some final words of encouragement from our Mr. Foyagi, who sets the bricks on fire for some reason. I don't really know. But of course, Barry's able to do it. Cue the slow motion slap to the back of the head from a disappointed Joe Piscopo. Chuck says bye to Barry and he disappears. Like, he literally disappears like a ghost, leaving nothing behind but the Chuck Norris magazine that Barry had earlier in the film. And then a wheelchair-bound kid finds the magazine. I guess it's supposed to hint that Chuck can make him walk again in the sequel. I don't know. Anyhow, it's Schlocker time. We got Best Actor and an ego-boosting vanity project for Chuck Norris himself. Worst Good Girl for Winnie Cooper for leading Barry on. We got Best Supporting Scumbag for Joe Piscopo. Best Worst Movie Mimicking Dream Sequences. Best Use of Pinatas. And Cotton Candy Fireworks. Yeah, Sidekicks. It's a predictable film. It's sweet to a fault. I saw it back when it came out, so there's a soft spot there. I mean, I'm gonna go 2 Wynonas and a smirk on my Winona Ryder's face as a walking emoji generator scale of Schlock cinema. You can certainly do worse as far as the 90s kids underdog sports flicks go, and you can check it out on YouTube.
HawkSchlock!